People in the village used to whisper whenever they saw the little girl walking slowly along the dusty road. Some shook their heads. Some looked away. Some laughed softly and said she had lost her senses. But the truth was, she was not mad. Her name was Amina. She was only 10 years old. Every morning, before the sun fully rose, Amina would wake up on a thin mat in the corner of a small room. Her stomach would already be hurting. Not the kind of pain that comes and goes, but the kind that stays and burns quietly inside. Food had not touched her lips for days. She would sit up slowly, holding her belly, listening to the sounds from the other room. Plates clinking. Laughter. The smell of warm food filling the house. That food was not for her. Her stepmother, Mora, never called her by her name. When she spoke to her, her voice was sharp and cold, like the harmattan wind at night. Amina, she would say, don't just sit there like a lost child. Take the basket. The basket was always heavy with oranges. Amina would carry it with both hands, even though it was almost too much for her small body. Her feet were bare. Her dress was old and faded, the kind that had been washed too many times and never replaced. Before leaving the house, she would look once more toward the table. Mora's two children, Lina and Kobe, sat comfortably, eating eggs and bread, drinking warm tea. They wore neat uniforms. Their bags were new. Their shoes shone in the morning light. They were going to one of the best schools in town. Amina was not allowed to go to school. She once asked. That day still lived painfully in her heart. Mama, she had said softly, her eyes full of hope, can I go to school too? Mora had turned slowly and looked at her from head to toe. School, she said with a short laugh. Do you think knowledge grows on trees? Your place is the street. If you want to eat, sell oranges. That was the day Amina learned not to ask again. Outside, the village road was busy. Women walked past with baskets on their heads. Men rode bicycles. Children laughed on their way to school. Amina stood by the roadside, holding her basket, calling out in a weak voice. Sweet oranges, sweet oranges. Hours passed. The sun climbed higher. Her voice became softer. Her legs trembled. Sometimes people passed without looking at her. Some looked at her with pity but said nothing. By afternoon, hunger became too much. Behind one of the houses was a place where waste was thrown away. Amina walked there quietly. She looked around to be sure no one was watching. With shaking hands, she searched carefully, avoiding anything bad. If she found something still wrapped, still clean enough, her eyes would fill with tears, not from joy, but from relief. Some villagers saw her there. She is mad, they said. A child like this should not be roaming, others whispered. But none of them knew the truth. At night, Amina returned home with the basket. How much did you sell? Mora asked. Amina stretched out her small hand and dropped the little money she made. Mora counted it and frowned. Useless, she said. Go and sleep. No food. No water. No kind word. That night, Amina lay awake, staring at the roof. Her stomach hurt. Her heart hurt more. She remembered her father. He used to lift her onto his shoulders. He used to call her his little star. He promised her that life would be good. Then he fell sick. Then he was gone. And everything changed. Tears rolled silently down Amina's cheeks as she hugged herself. She did not know it yet. But the same village that watched her suffer would one day stand still in shock. And the child they called mad would become the woman they never expected. Days turned into weeks, and weeks slowly became years. Amina grew taller, but her body remained thin. Hunger had become her closest companion. She no longer cried loudly when her stomach hurt. She had learned to endure pain quietly, the way the night endures darkness. Every morning followed the same pattern. Lina and Kobe left the house early, laughing, their shoes clean, their school bus waiting for them at the main road. Neighbors greeted them with smiles. "Your children are doing well," people often told Mora. She would smile proudly and lift her chin. But no one asked about Amina. Amina followed later, holding her basket of oranges, walking slowly behind them, like a shadow no one noticed. Sometimes rain would fall suddenly. While other children ran for shelter, Amina stood still, holding her basket close, letting the rain soak her dress and hair. If the oranges spoiled, there would be trouble at home. That fear was always stronger than the cold. One afternoon, after standing on the roadside all day, Amina had sewed almost nothing. Her legs felt weak. Her eyes burned from holding back tears. She sat under a tree and rested her head against the trunk. That was when she heard a gentle voice. "Child, why are you still here?" Amina looked up quickly, startled. Standing before her was a man she had never seen before. His clothes were simple. His hands were rough, like someone who worked hard every day. A small box of tools rested beside him. "I'm selling oranges," Amina replied softly. The man looked at the basket. Then he looked at her face. Something about her eyes made his chest tighten. "You should be resting," he said. "Where is your home?" Amina pointed down the road. The man nodded slowly. He reached into his pocket and brought out some money. "Let me buy all the oranges." Amina's eyes widened. "All?" she asked. "Yes. All of them." She hesitated. No one had ever done that before. After he paid, he handed the basket back to her. "Keep the oranges," he said gently. "The money is enough." Amina did not know what to say. Her lips trembled. "Thank you," she whispered. As he walked away, she watched him, feeling something she had not felt in a long time. Warmth. From that day, the man appeared often in the village. People said he was a carpenter looking for work. He fixed broken doors. He repaired chairs. He helped without asking for much. His name was Daniel. Whenever Daniel saw Amina, he stopped to speak with her. Sometimes he bought her oranges. Sometimes he simply asked if she was well. No one had asked her that question in years. One evening, Amina returned home earlier than usual. Mora noticed immediately. "Why are you back so soon?" she asked sharply. "I sold everything," Amina replied and placed the money on the table. Mora counted it. Her eyes narrowed. "Who bought all this?" "A man," Amina said. Mora felt a strange discomfort in her chest. That night, Amina lay on her mat, holding the memory of Daniel's kind voice in her heart. For the first time in a long while, she slept without crying. But kindness, when it enters a place of darkness, does not go unnoticed. Mora began to watch. And her heart, already hardened, grew even colder. She did not know that the quiet carpenter she ignored was about to change everything. As months passed, Daniel became a familiar face. The sound of his tools echoed softly as he walked. He repaired broken stools, fixed roofs, and mended doors that had been damaged for years. He never complained. He never raised his voice. People began to trust him. But Daniel's eyes often searched for one person. Amina. He noticed the way she walked, slowly and carefully, as if each step was a struggle. He noticed the way she flinched when someone spoke loudly. He noticed how her smile appeared only for a moment, then disappeared. One afternoon, he found her sitting alone behind a small shop, counting her coins with trembling fingers. "You did well today," he said gently. Amina looked up and smiled faintly. "I tried," she replied. Daniel sat a short distance away, careful not to frighten her. "Do you like selling oranges?" he asked. Amina shook her head slowly. I like learning, she said after a pause. Those words struck him deeply. What would you like to learn? He asked. Amina looked toward the road where children in school uniforms were walking past. I want to read, she whispered. I want to write my name properly. Daniel felt his throat tighten. From that day, he began to teach her small things whenever he could. Under the shade of trees, or behind his small workshop, he showed her letters, using sticks to draw in the sand. Amina learned quickly. Her eyes shone whenever she recognized a word. For those moments, hunger and pain faded away. But Mora noticed the change. Amina started returning home with a quiet confidence. She stood a little straighter. Her eyes no longer looked completely empty. One evening, Mora confronted her. Where do you go after selling oranges? She asked. Amina lowered her head. Nowhere, she replied softly. Mora did not believe her. She began to increase Amina's workload. More oranges. Longer hours. Less rest. Yet, even in the midst of exhaustion, Amina held onto the kindness Daniel showed her. One rainy evening, Daniel found Amina shivering by the roadside. Without hesitation, he placed his jacket over her shoulders. You must not fall sick, he said. That night, Amina hugged the jacket tightly as she slept. She had never felt protected before. Years passed quietly. Amina grew into a young woman, gentle and hardworking. Her beauty was simple, natural, shaped by patience and endurance. Daniel remained in the village. People wondered why he never left. Some thought he was just a poor carpenter with no dreams beyond survival. But Daniel had been watching. He saw Amina's strength, her humility, her heart that remained kind despite everything. And in his heart, a silent decision had already been made. A storm was coming. One that would reveal truth, reward patience, and shake the village to its core. The village woke one morning to unusual news. Daniel had bought a small piece of land near the edge of town. People whispered about it as they fetched water and swept their compounds. A carpenter buying land, some asked. Where did he get the money? Others wondered. Daniel said nothing. Construction began quietly. The house was simple but strong. Daniel worked alongside other laborers, his hands covered in dust like everyone else. Amina watched from a distance. She did not understand why her heart beat faster whenever she saw him. She only knew that his presence made the world feel safer. One evening, Daniel walked her home. They stood by the gate, the sky glowing softly as the sun went down. Amina, Daniel said, his voice calm, do you believe that pain can have an ending? Amina thought for a long moment. I want to believe, she replied. Daniel nodded. There is something I need you to know, he said slowly. But not yet. Those words stayed with her. At home, Mora's eyes burned with suspicion. She noticed the way Amina spoke now, the way she no longer bowed her head as deeply as before. That night, Mora made a decision. She arranged a marriage for Amina. The man was much older. He was known in the village, but not for kindness. When Amina heard the news, her body shook. I'm not ready, she said, her voice breaking. Please. Mora's face was hard. You will do as you are told, she replied. I raised you. This is your duty. Amina ran. She did not know where her feet were taking her. Tears blurred her vision as she reached Daniel's unfinished house. She collapsed at the doorway. When Daniel found her, her face was wet with tears, her breath uneven. He listened as she spoke, her words falling out in pain and fear. For the first time, Daniel's calm expression changed. He stood up slowly. No one will force you, he said firmly. The next day, Daniel returned to the village, but not as the quiet carpenter they thought they knew. Cars arrived. Fine clothes. Important faces. The village gathered, confused and restless. Daniel stepped forward. "My name is Daniel," he said clearly. "And I did not come here to walk with wood alone." Gasps filled the air. He revealed the truth, his wealth, his businesses, his search for a heart that loved without knowing his status. Silence followed. Eyes turned to Amina. Mora's face drained of color. The truth had finally arrived. And it was impossible to stop. The village was silent. No one spoke. No one moved. They all stood there, staring at Daniel, the man they had known only as a quiet carpenter. Amina's hands were shaking. Her heart felt like it would burst from her chest. Daniel turned to her. "Amina," he said gently, "I came to this village looking for a heart, not beauty. Looking for kindness, not comfort. I watched you suffer, yet you never became bitter. You never wished harm on anyone." Tears streamed down Amina's face. "I wanted to help you," he continued, "but I also needed to know who you truly were when no one was watching." He reached out his hand. "I want you to be my wife." A soft cry rose from the crowd. Some women wiped their eyes. Some men lowered their heads in shame. Amina could barely speak. "Why me?" she whispered. Daniel smiled sadly. "Because you remained pure in a world that was not kind to you." All eyes turned to Mora. She stepped back slowly, her lips trembling. I raised her," she said weakly. An elder from the village stepped forward. "We all watched," he said. "We saw the child suffer. We remained silent. Today, we are all guilty." Daniel spoke again, his voice calm but firm. "No revenge," he said. "Only truth." He announced that Amina would return to school, not as a child of pity, but as a child of promise. He promised to support other children in the village who had been forgotten. Amina knelt briefly, tears soaking the ground. "For every night I slept hungry," she said softly, "I forgive." That was the moment the village broke into tears. Months later, Amina walked through the village again, not with a basket of oranges, but with books in her arms. She learned. She grew. She healed. The day she married Daniel, the same village that once whispered stood together to celebrate. As for Mora, she watched from a distance, carrying the weight of her choices. And Amina. She never forgot the dust, the hunger, the pain. She used her story to lift others. Because sometimes, the child the world misunderstands is the one chosen to shine the brightest. Please subscribe, like and share. Thanks for watching. God bless you all. Stay safe and more love.